Hey everybody, it is July and everything is just taking off here in my garden. We have just enjoyed a whole week of lots of rain. It's been cool and cloudy. I haven't been out in the garden much, and today we have a lot of sunshine and heat and things are taking off. So in the month of July, that's when it's really important to stay on top of a lot of things so that your garden doesn't take over or become too overwhelming. So in today's video, I'm going to just go through all the different tasks that I will be doing in my garden during the month of July. So if this is your first time joining me on my channel, my name is Tracy and I am a cold climate gardener living on the prairies in Saskatchewan, Canada. I'm in growing zone 3. And on my channel, I like to show how you can garden 12 months of the year, no matter where you live, no matter what type of climate you live in. So right now we're probably in what's going to be probably the busiest part of the outdoor growing season. There's a lot of things you got to do to keep on top of everything. So you can see I got lots of stuff coming up here. Probably the one task that we enjoy the least would be the weeding part. So this bed here is kind of a mess simply because I have a cat that's always in it. And I had a bird feeder hanging up here early spring before anything was planted. The wind blew all the bird seed into this raised garden bed. So I have been constantly picking tons of little weeds. I guess whatever the bird seed, whatever was in there, clover, grasses, like hundreds of thousands of seeds went into this raised bed. So it's been a bit of a challenge to keep up with all the weeding. So again, the weeding part is something that I just try to do on a daily basis when I'm walking through my garden, doing a check. Raised garden beds are pretty easy to weed, so you can just walk around and check your plants, pull out the weeds, and just keep on top of it, as good as you can. Pruning my tomatoes and making sure they're secure, that they're going to be okay in the wind is something that I like to do. I've gone around the bottoms of all of my tomatoes and just trimmed up all the leaves. I don't like to have the leaves touching the soil, especially after rain when you got a lot of moisture in that soil. Having those leaves sitting on the soil can, bring in some diseases. So I like to prune up about 2 or 3 inches on the bottom stem of all my tomatoes. That helps with airflow and hopefully prevents any diseases. Some of my peppers are already filling in here, so I'm just doing some more caging just to make sure they're secure. So I got some tomato cages here. These are my giant Marconi peppers. These are something I haven't grown before, and I'm really happy with them. They're already a really nice size, and they are growing well here. So I have a couple of those going. And again, just when they start to get a little heavier, this cage will hopefully give them a little bit of stability so they don't flop over. July is also a good time to start implementing a good fertilizing routine because of all the rain that we got here in the last week. A lot of those nutrients could be washed away from your soil, so it's a good time to give all your plants a feeding. So as far as fertilizing, there's a few different ways that I do it. Sometimes I make my own DIY fertilizer with weeds or comfrey, and I also use fish fertilizer if I don't have any of my homemade stuff. But if you're just looking for a simple, general, all-purpose type fertilizer, then something like this is great and it will last you a long time. And it is super stinky, so watch out for that. When I'm doing my hydrangeas, blueberries, I think rhododendrons, they like the high acidity in the soil. So this is something that I give to my hydrangeas and my blueberries a couple times over the summer. Mix up some of this in here and just give it a good watering around the plant, and hopefully that builds up the the acidity in the soil the way they like it. I did make my own comfrey fertilizer here. This is the what we call the stink-free method. So I didn't use any water. I just chopped up comfrey leaves, put it in a pail, weighed it down with some stones, and just let it sit for a few weeks. Now, I will say that it has a smell, but it's not doesn't smell like death, like those teas that you make with water and weeds where the smell is just so putrid that it's really hard to work with. This is weird. It's kind of like a sweet fermented smell to it. But as you can see, I didn't get a lot off of that first batch, but it's pretty highly concentrated. So I'm just going to put a small pour. I think it's like a ratio of 1 part fertilizer to 10 parts water. I'm not going to really worry about it too much, but I'm going to mix up a batch here. And I have another batch of comfrey tea coming up that I'm working on. I just put it together with more of those leaves with no water and the stones on top to press it down. And like I say, it's a slower process than just doing weeds and water, which you can get a nice fertilizer within 3 days to a week. But I think if I can get a good batch of this, it ages like wine. It gets better over time, more stronger. So you can use less of it every time. So that's why I'm just going to work on getting a small container of this, and I can keep it over the winter and have it for next year as well. So that's all I do to mix up some fertilizer and then just go around and give all my plants a nice feeding. Usually try to do this every couple weeks throughout the summer. So this is one of my beds that is another bit of a mess with quack grass. Quack grass is going to be my worst enemy in the garden. I don't know about anybody else, but it is always something that I can never completely get rid of, no matter what kind of gardening. I thought raised bed gardening, it would be a little bit better, but after a couple years, that cardboard that I put underneath breaks down and the quackgrass just seems to find its way in. So I have a bunch of red onions here that I planted. I'd started them in a winter sowing jug, and then I just planted them out here. So they're not taking up a whole lot of space. So this is, a good opportunity to plant some more stuff here. And I always like carrots. Can never have enough carrots. So I'm going to clean up all of this quack grass in here first, and then use this space to plant up some more carrots and then give it a good mulching. So once you have weeded and fertilized and got maybe some extra things planted like I have here with carrots, it's always a good idea to mulch around your plants. That will help keep in that moisture, help prevent weeds. Right now I'm just using some dried up crushed leaves here from last fall. Just kind of putting a light layer on here because I want these carrots to be able to germinate, but I want to kind of keep them covered, keep them moist. I love to use straw. I have access to straw, so I chop my straw up with my push mower, just chop it up into smaller pieces, and I use that around all my plants. This is my cabbage and my colettes, which I was protecting with this netting that I made, and it is outgrowing it now. So I need to come up with a new, bigger plan here to protect. I don't want it to get infested with the cabbage moths or the flea beetles, which I'm sure are coming. So I'm just going to uncover it here and see if we can build something a little bit bigger for these plants. So this is just a close-up of my cabbage and my colettes. The colettes I've never grown before, and I'm not quite sure what they're going to look like, but they're supposed to be like a cross between Brussels sprouts and kale. So if anybody has any experience with growing colettes, let me know what to look for here. And then I have 2 cabbages, one there and one here. So everything's a little bit crowded. Hopefully it's going to be okay. But I'm going to just try and build a little bit bigger netting system here to help protect them. Now, I'm sure some of you might be cringing when you see my very crude setup here of covering my brassicas, protecting them hopefully from the flea beetles and the cabbage moths. But I just want to do a shout out to one of my fallers, Dwana. She's the one who mentioned in our gardening community that she just uses some tomato cages to give it some height, and then use the netting over top. So that's what I've done here, and I got it secured all along the sides with clips, bricks to kind of hold it down so that hopefully none of those pests get into here. So if you are interested in being part of a gardening community where you can share your tips, ideas, get ideas from other gardeners, then please check out the link below to join my free community, Gardeners Growing Together. Thanks again, Duana, for the tip. I think this is going to hopefully protect them throughout the summer. If you have onions, and I have a pile of them here, now might be a good time to start spooning around them just to help promote bigger bulbs. I'll just give you a little visual here. This is my Frontier onions. As you can see, they're starting to bulb, so you want that bulb to get bigger, and they bulb on top of the soil, not underneath. So that's why you want to go around and do a little bit of spooning just to kind of give them some more space, and hopefully they will keep growing and bulbing even more. And then if you have, that they're a little bit maybe too close together, you can always thin out, take out one, use it in your cooking right now, just to kind of, give them some more space to really bulb up and hopefully get some nice big onions at the end of the summer. So let me know in the comments what your favorite onions are to grow. I have Walla Walla, Frontier, Ruby Red, Candy, and Patterson. These are my potatoes. I'm so proud of them. They are doing so good. Something that people talk about all the time is hilling. I don't really do any kind of hilling. I simply plant my potatoes, a few inches, 3 or 4 inches under the soil, and then I put a good layer of chopped straw, and that is all I do all summer long. So I have good weed control. I have, moisture retention. That straw helps with that. And just give it maybe a bit of a fertilizing drink this week, and that will be all I need to do with the potatoes. Something I've never had problems with, and I don't want to say it out loud, is potato bugs, or the beetles that I see a lot of people get. I don't know if I'm just lucky. I don't have them in my yard, and I've never had them attacking my potatoes, but that is something to check for. Check your leaves. If you see something is munching on your plants, then you probably have some kind of bug that you need to eliminate. So I do have a pest control guide as well that you can check out in the link in my description box below, that I created for zone 2 to 5 gardeners, all different pests that you can identify, and just different organic remedies that you can use to try to get rid of them. Something else to watch for in July if you are growing garlic is to check and see if your garlic is starting to form the garlic scapes. So this is what they look like, and they are shooting out what would turn into kind of a flower or bloom and go to seed. So that's kind of what they're trying to do, is to produce more seeds. So you really don't want those to get too carried away. You want to be able to remove those so that the garlic will focus on the bulb and making you a nice large garlic bulb. So these are just starting to form on my plants here. You will see they will grow and usually curl almost into a full circle. So I'm going to keep an eye on this over the next week or so, and then I will just simply go in and cut these off all the plants, put them in my cooking. There's all sorts of recipes for garlic scapes that you can do with them because they have a nice garlic flavor. So you can make garlic salt, you can make pesto, chop it up, put it into your eggs or into a salad. So you do get some use out of them, but you don't want to leave them on the plant so that you can get some good garlic. So I think I've gone through all the things that I'm going to be working on here through the month of July in my garden: weeding, consistent watering, fertilizing, mulching, making sure that all your plants are supported and have good airflow, so that pruning and trellising that you need to do. And check for pests. Just take a walk through every morning with your coffee, look for bugs, look for maybe some leaves that aren't looking healthy, and Google it, or you can check out my pest control book that I have the link to down below to figure out what you need to do. So I hope you enjoyed watching my video today. I'm just really happy with the way everything's growing, and with this heat wave that we are finally getting here in July in Zone 3 Saskatchewan. I think everything's going to be taking off, growing like crazy. So you just don't want to get yourself too overwhelmed. Come out every day in the evening when it's cool, tackle a few areas in your garden, do some weeding, and just don't let the garden take over and make you feel overwhelmed. So thank you for watching, and I hope you will join me on the next video.